So, welcome to another episode of the Podcast Profits Unleashed podcast. This is where we talk about everything relating to podcasting and interview our guests. And today we're going to be talking about 90 days to ethical growth with Chris Hallett, who is a business growth expert. And that is exactly what he does. So, welcome to the show, Chris.
Thank you very much. I recall when people say expert because it's a term I never use myself.
First of all, would you like to share with the listeners a little bit about what was the inspiration then behind you focusing on this, on helping business owners grow? And within a 90-day period is a very short period. So what was the inspiration behind that?
It's an inspiration that's been drawn from the last 15 to 20 years, because after a career in sort of corporate IT projects and project management consulting, I went into the world of NLP coaching. I actually got headhunted to run a business, a startup business, as the MD. And after 6 months, the owner, he and I parted company. It's a long story, but he said, I don't need you anymore. I'm not going to pay you. You can leave. And it's at that point, I think, I realised that this is how you not run a business and not treat people, but also how to run a business. And so over the ensuing years, I've done many things, but all pointing towards this, because I realised when I did NLP training and became a certified trainer, I realised that we've got all these skills within us. And quite often the thing that stops businesses growing, yes, it's down to marketing, you need cash flow, you need sales, but it's about what's going on between here and here. And I knew that I could help people and help people transform their businesses. That said, I still realised there was one bit missing. And that bit came about 18 months ago when my lovely wife said to me, yeah, I know I've met this lady. She teaches people about marketing. And it's not just teaching people how to use LinkedIn, how to use Facebook ads. It's actually about marketing strategy. So what I did two things. I did a level 6 diploma through her academy, which is certified, is the digital marketing diploma certified by the Chartered Institute of Marketing. But I also became, as well as all the sort of NLP accreditations, I also became an accredited professional coach. So all of these things came together. And as part of that training and that development, I created this 6M business growth model. And so it's bringing together all the stuff I've done over the years in terms of personal development, marketing, sales training, and also all the work I've done from a planning point of view and how you create a plan to get from A to B and how you make sure you're going to get there and measure the results at the end of it. So it has been a sort of a 15-year journey to get to this point.
Ah, there you go. There's no such thing as overnight success, is there? Right? It's about the years prior to that. Okay. So you came up with this more recently, but it's actually because of the accumulation of the years of studying and years of experience that has come before.
The other sort of pivotal point was I realized there's so many people who are doing great training out there, great coaching. What they're offering is a one size fits all. And the thing I realized is every business is different. So my approach is very different because we assess where you are and figure out how you need to get from where you are now to where you want to be in 90 days. And it's a tailored solution to each business.
Yeah, because if you're in the wrong place, if you're in one place, then your route is going to look very different to somebody else. And you're right. I think it's very easy for people out there to stick to, it's one option. And like you say, because we're all people. Yeah. Business owners are human beings and we are all different. And I love the fact that you're bringing a lot of different skill sets into this, not just the self-development. Mindset is number one. However, something that you did mention there was sales. And it does seem to be that so many business owners, it's almost the last thing they think about. But if you're in business, you're in sales.
Absolutely.
You have this process, a 90 days to
Mm.
ethical growth.
Hmm.
Would you be able to share that with the listeners?
Absolutely. So the model that I created, there's 6 parts to it. This is the beauty. It isn't a sequential process. So the 6 parts are simply mission. You have to have a compelling mission in your business. You have to make sure you've addressed all the mindset issues. You need to have a marketing strategy. You need to manage the business, your business, in the right way. You need to measure the results, and you need to monetize what you do. So the 6 M's. So the way it works is quite simply, when I start with people, I've created an assessment. It's called the Business Growth Assessment, and it actually asks you a series of questions against each of those 6 areas, and it comes out with a score for each, and then it comes out with an overall score. So from that, we can see where you need to focus your efforts most in the next 90 days. So if you're absolutely acing it in sales and your turnover is on target, we're probably not going to look at sales and monetization. More likely, particularly if you're a small to medium sized business, you might probably have no marketing strategy. There are 59% of the businesses in the UK that have no marketing strategy. And what they think is a strategy are actually tactics. LinkedIn's a great example. People think that LinkedIn is their marketing strategy, or Facebook ads, but that's actually a tactic that should be part of your marketing strategy. So in that case, we'd actually start with marketing strategy and set some new business goals and set some new marketing goals, put together a 90-day strategy to increase marketing revenue, achieve the goals, and also increase sales. So it's a very tailored approach that is tailored for each individual business. Whether you're a single person business or you've got a team of 50, it applies to every business.
And what gets measured gets managed. And it's amazing that so many people, not only do they not have these strategies in place, but they're not measuring the stats. So if you don't know what's not working, and then they try to maybe change everything, and it's, yeah, but no, it was just this part between this and this that was not quite on track. So focus on that. So I love that approach. That sounds very different to a lot of the business coaches that I speak to. So I love the fact that you've got a very holistic approach and mindset, and with your NLP background, that's what I suppose sets you apart.
And that's the other thing that sets our sales training apart. It's very much around the psychology of sales, and how you build rapport with people, how you build that know and trust, and demonstrate value and ask the right questions. And that's something we teach on NLP training, is what questions to ask people and how to ask them in the right way to get the right outcome. And it gets to the point, and this has been my experience, where I've actually sold some big consulting packages using this approach, and I've never actually had to ask the business and close the prospect, because they've said, okay, clearly the value is more than the investment we're going to make. How do we work with you? Give us your bank details, invoice us. It's such a beautiful process, and it takes all the hard sell out of it.
Which sounds perfect because, as I said, there's so many business owners. They might be highly qualified in what they do, but they've not had this business background, and they certainly don't have the sales training. And for some reason, that's what they don't like about it. They're shying away from the actual sales process, which is what's actually going to bring in the money. It's quite fascinating that these essential parts of growing a business seem to be missing from the curriculum of certain things when you go and actually to become a whatever coach, insert whatever it is that you're studying. What do you think are some of the things that keep people stuck, hold people back from actually seeing growth in their business? Because many can be, stuck.
Quite simply, they haven't got a plan for growth. A lot of people believe that one of two things, that getting people onto sales calls is the way to do business, which it is, and posting content out on social media is the only thing you need to do. So the number one thing that keeps people stuck is the thing that's going on between their left ear and their right ear in the space in the middle. It's that self-talk. And even after all the stuff I've done, I woke up at 5 o'clock this morning with doubts in my mind. It's a human behavior. But one of the things that we can do, when that happens, is unpick that, find out what the root cause is, because you can have the best marketing strategy in the world. You can have the most efficient sales process and the most amazing sales team. But if you believe that you're not going to achieve the results that you want, it's never going to happen. And a lot of people will say, I actually believe that I do. And they're going like this. So their physiology is very different to the words that are coming out of their mouth.
Just goes to show it's all of this is unconscious.
Yeah.
So until you actually deal with that, things aren't going to get any better. And actually, you're going to be more burnt out and feel worse as you go. It's like a downward spiral. It's always fascinated me how much mindset. The trouble is, because it's like an intangible thing, I don't think people, or many people, they don't understand the actual real power of it. It's thought of as a very, maybe a little bit woo in some cases, but it all starts with that. It's all starting with the mindset.
I spoke to an orthopedic surgeon a couple of years back, and I was talking to him about the way that we can, moving away from business, the way we can use our minds to heal certain things in our body. And he said to me, when us surgeons meet, he said, we've said for years that we're only responsible for 20% of the healing, the rest is down to you. So if you then take that into a business context and work out what's going in with your own mindset, and within your own motivation as well, because you might have a sales team or a marketing team who they're actually motivated to make money. But our motivation can be in two directions. It can be towards something and away from it. So whilst people think they're motivated to achieve the business goals that they want, they might actually be motivated away from it.
Interesting. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? So I wonder if the listeners are going through this right now.
So if you think about, in a business context, the feast and famine cycle, think about being chased by a wild dog. You're going to run as fast as you can until you reach safety. You're not running towards something, you're running away from something. The same's true in business. Let's take money. If you've experienced bad times financially, you think, I'm going to make £100,000 this year. Because you're motivated away from the opposite, which is having no money or being broke, you start to make some money, you get sales coming in, you get revenue, and you get so far away from where you don't want to be, which is being broke, that you stop taking action and you think, okay, I'm comfortable now, I'm in a safe place, I can take my foot off the gas. That's very different to being 100% motivated towards making money or whichever goal it is you want. It could be increasing subscribers. So that's where we get feast and famine, because you're not motivated towards what you want, you're motivated away from what you don't want. And so you stop taking action.
That is so true. And it just goes to show we're funny creatures, aren't we, humans? Because yes, the most powerful driving force seems to be to avoid pain.
Yep.
When we are comfortable, it's very easy to get complacent. I suppose this is why you have to have a very powerful why. And when everybody's heard that they should be writing their goals down somewhere. The difference is how many people are actually doing it, and then how many people are reevaluating them as they go throughout the year, not just doing it at the beginning of January, right? But it's always been a fascination of mine that, if you're people that may be transitioning from, say, a well-paid job to starting their own business, everything seems to go too slow because they don't have that burning desire. They're too comfortable. Whereas somebody they've got to make it happen. It's maybe not quite life or death, but they might be in a certain amount of pain, and they seem to go a lot faster and maybe do a lot better in the beginning because of that fire has been lit above it, which is it's just when you're outside looking in, that sounds so crazy. If you want to do better, why don't you just do better? But what
Yeah.
you've just shared there explains what is going on
Mm.
in our heads for that reason, which is why it's so important to have all this planned out
Yeah.
properly and be able to reevaluate it so that you can, because nothing's set in stone, is it? So that
Yeah.
you can actually tweak things as you go. Love
But
it. Love
you
it.
you mentioned goal setting. Most people, when they write if they write their goals down, they write them in such a way they're completely unachievable, yet they don't realise that because they set goals in the future as though they'll never achieve them. And one thing I do with people is it's a simple change. When I get them to write goals, and I hope that the listeners take this on board, is write them as though you've already achieved them. I actually write my goals. It is now, and a date and a time, and I have. And then write whatever, whether it's money, new car, new house, or whatever it is. Because once you believe that you've already achieved it, you will achieve it.
Yeah. And that really is the crux of it all, isn't it? Our minds are phenomenal things, and there is only now, there is only this moment. And you're
Yeah,
right, the problem with putting everything in the future, it will always be in the future then. So
you
you're
keep
never going to achieve it.
working towards it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Great tips there, and tips that people can actually implement starting from today. So thank you for that. Anything else that you can think of that sort of keeps people stuck, holds people back?
Beliefs around what they can achieve that are actually linked to their past. I'm one of those people who left school at the age of 16. I was a musician in the army for the first 10 years of my life. So I didn't go to university. I didn't have a degree. We've talked about this before. So now at the age of 66, I actually graduate this year in Westminster. But for years, I believed that I couldn't progress in my career because I didn't have a degree. The irony was one company refused to interview me for a position that I'd done for 15 years because I didn't have a degree. So that was a belief I had based on my childhood. So it's looking, look at what's going on in your life. And if you start saying things like, I could never achieve that, I could never build my business to £5 million a year, I could never employ a team of people, I could never promote myself on social media like this. That's all about what's going on in our mind and our beliefs, and also about the negative emotions that we run. A lot of childhood trauma, and when I say trauma, it's not necessarily like physical abuse, but experiences we have as children then kick in much later in life and actually hold us back. When I say emotions, I think like negative emotions in terms of sadness, anger, fear. There are so many business owners. In fact, one of my most successful clients, who was a multimillionaire business owner, actually he came to me because he had a fear of public speaking. And he was the CEO of a business that earned over, well, in excess of £20 million a year. But he had a fear of public speaking. And that was holding him back. He's actually now a successful podcast host, ironically.
There you go. So that proves that all these things can all be overcome
Yeah.
with the right help, the right support, and the right guidance.
Mm.
Anything else before we move on to really what should the listeners do next? Any other insights from you about growing your business?
I would say it's back to focus on what you need the most of, because it's great starting a business, or you've been in business for 5 years and saying, yeah, what we really need is to grow the team. But you've actually got no way of managing that team. And it's focusing on what you really need at that point. A lot of people get sucked into developing a marketing strategy, but they're not getting sales coming in. And all of these things will conspire to reinforce, if you have a limiting belief about what you can achieve, will conspire to support your limiting belief and hold you back. And I guess the other thing is to stick to your lane, ignore what other people are telling you what you can and you can't do, because they're telling you what they can and can't do, not what you can and can't do. So it's sticking to your mission, your purpose in your business, and playing in your lane. And if you do decide to get help, and it is down to your mindset, get someone who's qualified to do it. I always say to people, if you needed an eye operation or a heart operation, would you go to an unqualified person? And the answer is no. So if you're going to get somebody, if it's mindset that's stopping you or beliefs, get someone who's qualified to do that, rather than just someone who calls themselves a mindset coach or mindset specialist.
Yeah, anybody can put that title on, can't they? So, well, if the listeners are out there and they are feeling stuck within their business and this 90 days to ethical growth, what should they do next?
There's a number of things they can do. I do have some free training that's available. It's a self-study course it covers the 6 of those growth areas and tells you either one, why you should be looking at each of those areas, and actually what to do to tackle each of those areas depending where you want to focus on. Included in that is the business growth assessment. And again, that's something that is free to consume, and it will give you the information as to where to focus your efforts for the next 90 days.
Brilliant. And how do they get hold of that?
They can go to my website, and there is a link on there, which is Wave Comms Group. And there is a link on there to the Business Growth Accelerator training.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for your time today, Chris. And I think there are so many business owners that are feeling stuck right now. And I think it's just really important to couldn't say that. And so it's really important to basically showcase that there is light at the end of the tunnel. You can change. It doesn't matter how stuck you're feeling right now. Sometimes you need an outsider's perspective. You need somebody to have a view of your business and to help you see which part of it is going wrong and guide you through it. So if you're feeling that right now, then get in touch with Chris. And then finally, because Chris is going to be one of our newest show hosts that will be launching a podcast very soon. Have you had any ideas on what the actual podcast is going to be called yet, Chris?
The clues in stuff that we've already talked about, because it's going to be called the Business Growth Show.
Perfect. So you will hear more about that closer to the time that it's launched. So thank you for your time today. And to the listeners, I will be back next week. Bye for now.
Thank you for listening to today's episode on the Podcast Profits Unleashed podcast. If you're a coach, consultant, therapist, or healer who would like to drive sales whilst having fun podcasting, head over to podcastprofitsunleashed.com/free and find out how you can turn your podcast into a sales machine. We'll see you on the next episode.